So I'll start that now. And I think that we'll just, when other students start coming in, I'll just admit them in from the waiting room. And like Anne and I have talked numerous times, and I've already done a Zoom session for registration and whatnot for new transfer students. So a lot of them are probably already sick of seeing my face. So but maybe I'll just be here in the background with my coffee, and if you need me, I'll pop in and I'll let you do your thing. And sorry, you do have access to share the screen and stuff. That's all good on your end? Or do you need me to?
Oh, no, we're good.
You're good. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, I'll mute myself, and we'll see about getting hopefully more students in. If I come across any of their names, I'll just shoot an email saying just to remind them as well. So if not, I would still love to use this video for our own program uses as well. So
okay, perfect.
So you remember you by Hazel when you leave us.
Yeah. Okay, also you can just still email me and I'll join a Zoom call. Well, I guess everything's in person now, so like
yeah,
if you need someone on Zoom, I'll show up.
I will definitely utilize your ladies' skill sets anytime to help our program. I really appreciate it. All right, well, I'll put the table over to you, the mic over to you, and with your magic.
Okay, perfect. Give me 1 second here. Okay, my second screen decided that they weren't gonna work today. Alrighty, so I do have a quick video, and we'll just quickly watch this guy for now. Can you guys see my screen? Good. Yeah, perfect.
My name is David Kang. I've been involved in Orientation Week, leadership and student engagement, and Get Out the Vote. The thing that I've gained the most from orientation is that I have grown as a leader. Being put into this position of authority and representing the university has really shown me new ways that I can improve my leadership skills on how to make people feel welcome and feel like they are a part of this UCalgary community.
My name is Claire Hickey. In my first year, I was involved in the UCalgary Cares Costa Rica program, and that program just helped me to gain a sense of self-confidence and really helped sort of launch me into the kind of person I am today.
I'm Jared Winslow. I'm a second-year Bachelor of Arts student in communication. I'm a born and raised Calgarian, but my family is from the southeastern states in the Choctaw tribe. There are people in my community here that are victims of open racism. While I'm a student here at the U of C, I'd love to be a part of an initiative that helps open the window between non-Indigenous peoples and people who identify as Indigenous, so that everyone who is an open minority will feel comfortable with their way of life. The Native Center is incredibly welcoming. It's open to people of all faiths and walks of life, and you're always going to find a hug and support here.
As an incoming student, I faced a lot of challenges with mental health, and through just the strong sense of community, the friends that I made, the mentors that were available to me through a lot of the student services offices, including peers and staff members, really helped me to adjust and to build up a sense of resiliency and to be able to deal with those challenges.
A meaningful experience I've had with my peer helper positions is that I've got to meet a lot of really interesting people from a lot of different backgrounds. The UCalgary community means to me friendships and communities and being able to help each other succeed in whichever way we can.
The thing that students can do more than anything else is to reach out and take initiative, whether that's through going out and joining a club or volunteering or looking for services that can help you or that you can help. All of these are different ways that you can make your experience the best possible experience.
Getting involved is such a fantastic way to get to meet people, to get to figure out where your interests are, and it's just a really, really wonderful way to get to know your community.
My experience at the University of Calgary has been incredibly exciting and invigorating and has given me the opportunity to explore parts of myself that I don't think I would have gotten any other way.
The UCalgary community is absolutely incredible. It's made me feel at home, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
So I've got my
Alrighty. So yeah, that is what U of C looks like. And to me it's exciting because looking back 4 years ago, it looked exactly like that, with all of the tables in the courtyard, so many students just going through the hallways, going through the food court. And I'm really excited for new students coming in this fall because that's what they're gonna get, right? They're no longer gonna start school or university online, which is really exciting because this is part of the first year experience. I guess we've only got Anne so far, but Anne, welcome. So this event is essentially going to just give you our perspective as CRDS students and what life has been at UC in the last 4 years. So okay. So my name's Hazel and Nemo here is with me. We'll just spend the next hour or so just talking about courses, practicum experiences, any jobs that we've gotten through the program, and just things that we've really liked on campus. As I've said, my name is Hazel. I'm in my 4th and last year of the program. I did start the program right after high school, so I went straight into it. I would say that it was definitely the best decision that I've made personally, because I feel like now that I'm almost done, I feel a lot more prepared going out in the real world and really pursuing my passions and giving back to the community. I also feel like everything that I've learned and experienced throughout the last 4 years has facilitated a lot of growth, both professionally, academically, and personally, but it's also given me the foundation to create a really strong social network. I have now, like, all of my friends are long-term friends, and I've met them just in classes, practicums, through group work. We do a lot of that in this program. And as I've said, I was very fortunate to have started my university experience in person. I live in the south area of the city, so like my first year, I spent a lot of my time on the train. So I would wake up at like 7:30 in the morning just so I can make it to my 9 a.m. class. I drive now, so it's nice. So I get to cut my commute in half. But again, it's part of the experience. It's one of those things where you kind of like have to struggle in the beginning a little bit. And, it's nice because you get on the train at 7:30 in the morning and you see all of these other students. And so it's kind of like a collective journey. Oops, that is not my screen, sorry. I guess I do also want to go to grad school eventually for counseling psychology. I'm very passionate I'm a very big mental health advocate. I strive to make a difference for adolescents experiencing a lot of mental health challenges and create methods and resources that will allow them to be successful in a university setting, but also in personal circumstances. I'm also the current president of our student association, which I will be talking more about later today. And a fun fact about me is that I like sloths and anything with sloths. And then I've got my contact information on here as well. So that is me.
So I'm Nemo. I'm also a 4th year transfer student. I transferred from Blue Valley College. I was taking the disability studies program. And then so I transferred into the CRDS program in 2020. So that was essentially like my 3rd year. What really helped was that other transfer students who were attending UCalgary at the time and in the program were very helpful in giving me tips on what the program is about. And what I could expect. The transition over to this program, I felt pretty good about it because I enjoyed the idea of continuing my education and learning more about the disability field. It also helped that I had a few friends who were also transferring with me at the time, so I wasn't alone. I learned so much from the program, and I was able to improve on the previous schools I established. I found the courses were very interesting and the professors were very knowledgeable and passionate. They were also very helpful in ensuring that we were successful. Through this program, you will learn a whole lot. You'll also learn how to critically critique how society views disability and ways to achieve the full inclusion of people with disabilities. And this program will also help you with your future endeavors. I'm still figuring that out. So yeah.
All right. And then we do have a quick little video to watch for the Rex challenge. So I'll get that set up here. So that's a really good, cool challenge that you guys can participate in. And there's a reward, so that's always nice. How do I? All right. Fun fact, I didn't know for some reason that our mascot was a dinosaur. And so when I started 4 years ago, I saw just a giant, like there was like an actual mascot and he's like 7 foot tall, just walking around campus. And I was like, what is going on? But he's super friendly if you do see him on campus. So
What a random thing to have at the university if it wasn't a mascot, just some dude walking around in a dinosaur
yeah,
costume.
and I was just like, I'm just gonna, well, and then I went to the bookstore and they had like mini ones. So I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
oh,
funny.
All righty. Okay, so now we're gonna dive into more about the program. So core courses, core stands for community, community rehabilitation is what it stands for. So these are required courses that we have to take for our program in addition to electives and open options. So we've kind of listed some that we really liked. So for me, the first two, so Core 553 is disability and body. So this is a new course that will be taught by Dr. Bolton. I actually took this course as a block week in January. It had a lot of traction. The topic itself is very interesting. So they've kind of decided that it was going to be a whole course, which is amazing. But yeah, this course will challenge you to kind of look at the body beyond a medical lens and recognize the social and cultural context of disability and impairment. And these are two terms that you're gonna constantly learn about throughout the program. There is a vast difference between disability and impairment. So just a quick little spiel. So impairment is kind of the medical problem that's within the person's body or mental capacity or functioning, whereas disability is more so in the social context where this focuses on the inability for an individual to perform daily tasks and participate in society because of their impairment. So it's a great course, tons of group projects. In the beginning of the semester, we made infographics. Like for me, I did mine on residential schools and how disabled bodies were perceived in that context. And then another course that I really liked, also taught by Dr. Bolton, is course 321, which is communication skills and rehabilitation. This is by far one of my favorite courses that I've ever taken the last 4 years. This is required kind of in your early semesters of your degree. And essentially, this is where you learn how to really talk with clients, with your supervisors, with your peers, and kind of facilitating a strong foundation of empathetic communication and creating relationships. Yeah, so this is a skills-based introduction course that focuses on understanding and developing basic communication skills that facilitate dialogue and interpersonal counseling, guidance, and community rehabilitation contexts. What I liked about this course is that we got to do like a mock counseling session. So this is an opportunity for students to take everything that they've learned throughout the course. And then in the last 2 weeks, they get to put all of it in a video. And it's super fun because you can do it with your friends and you can do whatever kind of situation you want to. And again, it prepares you for what the program is for, like essentially just getting into the community, which we do a lot through our practicums. And it's just one of those courses that will prepare you for success.
Okay, so for core 475, disability and aging, this course explores the theoretical and practical issues as they relate to rehabilitation and community services for seniors with disabilities. When I was taking this course, it touched on theories of aging, myths such as when someone gets older, they lose cognitive ability, experiences of seniors when it comes to social issues such as ageism, maltreatment, oppression. We had really cool discussions about disability and aging, such as the stereotypical ways seniors are portrayed in media and the cultural perspectives on caregiving. Something I really enjoyed about the course was doing a reflection paper about how we view aging and if we're fearful of it. It really helped me to self-reflect and view aging differently. And then for core 591, Health Foundation's Disability Across the Lifespan. This course was really cool because we were able to learn more about anatomy and physiology in the context of community rehabilitation. There were various case studies, interesting questions on how to support an individual with a certain disease or disability, and learning loads about the pathophysiology of specific diseases. It was a really interactive course.
Yeah, and then I wanted to preface too that a lot of our courses, we don't do too many assessments in terms of like quizzes and like exams. Oftentimes we do a lot of our assessments through papers and discussion posts, which I personally has been a lot more beneficial. I know students learn differently, but being able to really research and dive into a certain topic and write a paper about it and kind of say like, what are your thoughts about this theoretical framework, or how do you perceive the situation, or how do you use this lens to better advocate for people with disabilities. And I think personally for me, that has helped me be a better student, a better person, but also a better practicum student in our practicums. So, and with that said, we are now going to talk about practicums. Being one of the few programs that implements a work integrated learning framework, which essentially are practicums, the CRDS program gives all of its students ample opportunities for community work and research through its practicums. During your time in the program, whether you're a transfer student or you're doing the full 4-year route, you will be completing 3 different practicums. So for me, I did 3. So 1 in my first year, 1 in my second year, and then in your last year, you will also be doing a fall and a winter practicum. That's roughly 260 hours. As a student who is finishing my degree, I say this all the time, and I know Sarah's heard me say this a lot of times, but I'm really grateful for these practicums. Not only, I mean, one, I got 2 of my current jobs from these practicums, but also it just really prepares you for what's out there after school. And it also gives you the opportunity to get a glimpse of what you want to do in the future. For me, when I was heading out of high school, I didn't have a clear vision of, what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to help people, but I didn't know what specific cohort or what field I wanted to help them in. So when I started, my first practicum was at the Dubasoft Dance and Wellness Center. This is where I spent a lot of my time working with children with disabilities from the age of 5 to 12. And essentially what I did was I assisted them physically and emotionally through dance lessons, art activities, we did yoga. It was super fun, and the kids are just so cute and they're so kind, and it's just a very, well, like, I learned a lot of things there. I also had a lot of fun, which I think is really important for a practicum, because, and not all of them's going to be fun, but it's very important that you choose something that you know that you're going to enjoy and that you're going to want to learn more about. In my second year, I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I applied for to be a research assistant for Dr. Joanna Rankin. And that was also super fun. I learned how to use Excel, which I've never done before. So I learned how to make graphs and make charts and stuff like that. But also it prepared me for one of my jobs right now. So I'm a research assistant for Dr. Alan Martino, where we work on multiple projects in the field of disability and sexuality. This is a great example of how everything that I've learned with Dr. Rankin in my practicum had prepared me for my job. So I learned how to use different softwares. I learned difference between qualitative and quantitative. And at the same time, it allowed me to really narrow down what kind of research I wanted to do. At the end of that practicum, I told Dr. Rankin, I was like, I want to do more qualitative. I'm not so good at the numbers as much as I like the Excel sheets and stuff, but personally, I found that qualitative research is really detailed, and it's really personalized. You really get to hear people's experiences and voices and their thought processes, which to me, I'm just a total junkie for. I love that kind of stuff. But yeah, so it led me to my current job with Dr. Martino. I just completed a bunch of transcriptions for one of his projects. And it was a great experience because, again, the disability field can be challenging in a sense of there's a lot of challenges and barriers that we still have to overcome for this group and on behalf of them, and kind of support them through. And, this project that we did, it was for, learning about the sexual education and the sexual support that people with disabilities who don't conform to, the binary expectations of sexuality. And, these transcriptions were very hard to hear because, these are real life experiences of people who are living in the same city as us. And that often doesn't get carried into research, or is not very well known. So yeah, that's how I got one of my jobs. And then lastly, for my fourth and final practicum, I was a teaching assistant at the Transitional Vocational Program at Mount Royal. So this program is it's a post-secondary program at Mount Royal for adults with developmental disabilities. where they are able to take programs to kind of help them get employment, prepare for employment, and they also have classes like literacy classes, music classes, and all sorts of other things. I also got my second job there as a teaching assistant and an administrative assistant. And yeah, so that's kind of all of my experiences for practicum, and I'm extremely grateful because now I'm walking away with not just one, but two jobs, but also a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge. So yeah.
So considering that I'm a transfer student in my senior practicum, so yeah, considering that I'm a transfer, my senior practicum was my first and only practicum experience. And so for that practicum, I had the opportunity to work as a student researcher with Dr. Bolton. Before I didn't have any experience with research, so I started off as a volunteer to get like a glimpse of what research entails. And then after that, it became my senior practicum, and I really enjoyed my experience. It really gave me an in-depth view of what research entails when I had no prior experience, and came to find out that I actually enjoy doing research, and would hope to do more in the future. So when so I volunteered winter 2020, and then in the summer I worked on a project as a research assistant, and then continued on with it as my senior practicum. And I do hope to work on it more in the summer so that it can finally finish. The research project focused on experiences of midwives in Alberta and the best ways to address the challenges they may face when it comes to policies and practices. Yeah, I learned loads.
Yes, that's a very interesting topic that Dr. Bolton had. So I know that there's some transfer students in here. So they have a diploma coming into the third year. So like you, Nemo, they wouldn't have any UC practicums until they come into their last year. What I know that some of them have asked me too, how do I know, and this too applies to Hazel as well, like how do I know what practicum to choose and how do I know where to go? And I know that you guys both said like this is something I was interested in, so I got into the research. But if somebody's going out into the community, how do they know where to go? Do you guys want to kind of briefly discuss how you're set up in your other practicums that you had before you got into your senior ones?
Yes. Sorry, go ahead,
Oh, you
Hazel.
go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, so at Bill Valley, I had 3 practicums. One was an adult day program, and the other 2 were in school settings. So I worked as an education assistant. And so going into UCalgary, I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to do something outside of my comfort zone. So
Good
I
for
had
you.
experience with adults with disabilities. I had experience with kids with kids with disabilities, and so I was like, let me do something totally different.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got into research. I did if you come into the program, you'll know Brenna. So I had the chance of communicating with Brenna and asking her about any like research opportunities, and that helped me to get in touch with Dr. Bolton. And so, yeah.
And Brenna, just to the new students, she was in her undergraduate program and now she's in her master's program. She started that last fall. So she's been always a great resource as well. And she was a transfer student from Medicine Hat. I believe it was Medicine Hat. So she as well can really relate coming into the third year of a degree program and the differences that you go through coming from college to university. What do you think was the biggest difference for you coming from Bow Valley to U of C? Like, what was something that you're like, oh, wow, this is really different, or that you had to adjust to?
I think, well, when I started, it was online. So like the transition from like in person to online was a bit okay because I did take previous online courses. What I found interesting was like the students, they were very interactive when it came to doing the work in the courses, and so being able to develop that relationship and also communicate through like group chats about other courses, and it was pretty awesome.
Great. And Hazel, you obviously came in through the 4-year route. So what's your kind of takeaways on the practicum experience and how you got into your other placements? Like, you guys kind of started reaching out, and sometimes the faculty reach out as well, that they're looking for students to do research, which is also important. So how did you land in your other practicums? Because I think some students, when they come in, they feel like they're thrown into the practicum wolf world, and it's like, no, you do get lots of support because we have a practicum coordinator, but it doesn't feel like it's more impactful when you actually hear it from a student that's gone through it themselves, like you two. So if you have anything to add to that, Hazel.
Yeah, I was just gonna say too, like I think the power of word of mouth has definitely been pertinent, at least in my experience in the program. I think, especially for transfer students, you do get, 2 semesters where you have time to kind of reach out and talk to professors and talk to other students before you get into your final practicum. I know there's a student I met in the fall. Her name's Kaylee. She's also a transfer student. So she's not doing her practicum until next year. But I was talking about my research with Alan, and she now works with Alan, which is amazing. So that's kind of just, one of the great examples of how a simple conversation can lead you to not like a practicum experience, a research experience, but also like a future career. For me, actually, when I was applying for it, because typically what happened is Patty, who is our practicum coordinator, before the fall semester starts, she'll send out an email. She'll be like, here are your options. You fill out your first 3, like your top 3 options, and then based on that, she'll kind of give you your placement. At this point, when I was in my second year, I didn't have a lot of peers that were actually doing a research practicum. I think this is when we were just starting to kind of get practicum and first and second year students into research, because I wish I had somebody to talk to, because not everybody's doing research. And I think a lot of it came from because, school was online, COVID was happening. So a lot of community organizations couldn't have students come into their facilities. And so hence a lot of these opportunities arose. But yeah, I kind of signed up for it because I was like, okay, this is something new. I've never done this before. I'm very interested in, just my sister graduated from a Bachelor of Science in Psych. And so when she graduated, she did her thesis, and she had a lot of research experience. And I remember seeing her, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Is that hard? How do you get into it? And she's the one who encouraged me to apply for it. And I don't regret it at all. I think, again, as I've been saying, it's definitely prepared me for, other practicums and other jobs. And we do have some courses that are research-based as well. So yeah, I personally wish that I had somebody kind of like as a senior student, who could give me that insight. But now we do, which is amazing. Yeah, I know a lot of second year students who are doing research at the moment. And it goes back to, this is one of the few like programs, very rare, that you get this opportunity in such post-secondary programs. And also we have Dr. Wolbring's research team, so the Wolpack. So it's a big research team, and they you can kind of apply for it. You can start this as well in your first year, I believe, Sarah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, so again, there's just a lot of research opportunities left and right. And even Sarah, she always sends out advertisements, which is amazing. That's actually how I got my job with Dr. Martino. She sent out an email. She's like, well, Dr. Martino's a new professor and he's looking for a research assistant. So I emailed him. I was like, here's my CV. Here is my cover letter. I've got some experience, thank God. And yeah, there's also like the Facebook group. That's great for opportunities. We've also made a Discord platform, which we'll talk more about later. But yeah, no, in this program, there's going to be a lot of opportunities that will be thrown at you. But don't be afraid and don't be overwhelmed, because the program itself is a close-knit community. And there's always going to be someone that will help you regardless. So
yeah, no,
yeah.
you guys, that's amazing overview. And you're right. I do send out a lot. The community, by the community, it's through the faculty with looking for students, but also if you're ever looking for a part-time job while you're working, while you're at school, there's a lot of need in the disability sector for families, and through other organizations and nonprofit that know our students, and they really seek them out because of the practicum experience and the knowledge that they have. And sometimes you don't need any of that right away. So that's why I always like to send that out as well, because it's experience for you, but it's also nice that you're getting paid for that when the families are searching for people to help work with, mostly children, is what they're looking for. And it's usually a part-time basis. But again, and then going back to what our senior students here were saying, that this is really, really good experience for the real world. And it's interesting too, because even the connections, like Hazel, when you're saying word of mouth, that's actually how a lot of people get jobs too, because you're networking and you're reaching out to people and you're broadening your horizon. That's usually where jobs are found. Like that's how I found my job at the University of Calgary. I had somebody that worked here and they said, you should apply for this role. And I was scared, because even though I was a teacher before for a few years, I'm like, this is a whole different thing. And then I wasn't too out of university myself, but you really do have a lot of support. And I think smaller programs really do provide that. And also you get really good references out of it as well. Like having Nemo and Hazel having that research experience, and the faculty knowing you in your classes speaks volumes when you are ready to go out into the real world, whether it's another master's program or an after degree program or a career path. Having that support behind you really does help. And also having this practicum experience, whether you're going to go in the community or you're going to do research, it makes you stand out as an applicant on things, because not every degree, like Hazel was mentioning as well, has these opportunities to put your education into real life experiences. And we try to get our students to do that right away in their first year. And I know coming into the transfer route, you only get the 2 practicums, but again, never be afraid to apply for research opportunities because you are a transfer student, because every student is still the same. You're still a U of C student, you're in the CRDS program, and 4-year students are not treated differently than 2-year students. It's just that you have already met the equivalency of the first 2 years of the degree. So like when Core 321 was brought up, you already, and I'm sure that when Hazel was kind of doing an overview of it, that you're like, yes, I did that in my diploma. But the other classes you will be taking with like Core 553 and whatnot. So, and I think some of you guys might be enrolled in it already. And then those that are here attending that are in the 4-year route, you would be taking Core 321 in your 2nd year. And believe me, I'll be sending out emails about that. Like bombard. I should just write bombarding in my email titles, because I do it a lot, because I never want you guys to miss out. And I think for the most part, people are patient if it doesn't pertain to them, but like apply, get out of your comfort zone is probably the biggest thing, because in this field of study, things will get uncomfortable and things will trigger you and things will make you realize sometimes how society is with people with disabilities and impairments, and also the great leaps and bounds that were accomplished for people in the disability field and then out in the community. And you don't always necessarily work with somebody that has a disability, and you might be doing a community approach to it as well. And like Nemo and Hazel said as well, like this program reaches out to so many other sectors. And actually that's why you see our options even that we allow for this degree are so various and so different, because it can be applied to pretty much anything with other programs. Environmental design under engineering, science, lots of art classes, philosophy is a very popular one of the arts that we allow. So hearing our students' experiences, I'm just like a proud mother for them, because you guys do amazing work. And you know what, the community notices, Calgary as a whole notices the high bar that our students set when they're out in the community and working in the field. So I always do appreciate when they give their insight and experience, because there's so much that they're doing, and it's always a nice little time to brag as well. So I'm always bragging about our students to other programs, and I know you guys are going to do great too when you start into this program as well. So it can be overwhelming, it can be a little scary, but you'll find your own little way and you'll become pros before you know it, figuring out classes and figuring out what you want to do, but you don't need to know the answer right now, and that's okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and we're gonna go back to some of the things you mentioned, because you mentioned something along the lines of, you really get to see how the world sees, like, or perceives and treats people with disabilities. And I think for me, everything that I've learned in class, I see it everywhere I go. And one of the biggest things that we learn in the beginning of the program, whether you're a transfer student or like you're in the 4-year route, and this can often sometimes be challenging for transfer students. Like I know Brenna, for instance, she's a close friend of mine, but when she started, I think she did a PTA program at Medicine Hat, and so she had more of a medicalized lens of disability, and our program kind of more focuses on society and social context. And so for her, that was a little bit challenging to see that, okay, wait, this person is disadvantaged, not necessarily just because of their impairment, but also, the fact that there's no ramps, or this building's inaccessible, or the service is inaccessible, or there's no form of communication between this service and the clients. And for me, whenever I go around, and even when you're walking through the hallways, you're like, why is this doorknob a little lower? Why is this one too tall? Why is this like door not accessible? And that's essentially what the program will do to you. It's challenging, it's hard, it's going to question all of your beliefs, how you see the world and how you have perceived, certain societal structures. And that's what like I was talking about, how we do a lot of papers. A lot of our papers are a critical analysis. Here's the theory, here's the issue, what do you think? And like back it up with some research. And like, I think, again, you don't get that in a lot of programs. And in addition to that, you get to see it in person, right? So for a lot of our practicums, we have to do a lot of self-reflections. We talk about what we learn, any challenges that we see, and how that relates to, theoretical frameworks that we've learned. So yeah, it's fun and it's rewarding, but it's, as Sarah said, it's very challenging. There's going to be a lot of you that's going to be like, what am I doing? My thoughts are being challenged. My beliefs are being challenged. Like you are going to come. I feel like for me, I'm coming out of this program a different person.
And
my
that's what we want.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Yep.
4 years is a long time, but
Yeah.
it goes by really quickly. But I just like, I see the world so differently now, and
Yeah.
it allows me to be a better service provider, but also an advocate for a lot of marginalized groups.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
getting out of your comfort zone is the greatest lesson you'll ever have in life, and it will always stay with you. So that's why I think that's why we do want students to feel uncomfortable sometimes, because we've all experienced it in life, and experiences have made us feel like that. So we want you guys to be educated and prepared when you do go out in the real world, wherever that job may be, that you know how to handle the situation because of that experiences that you've had at university. And I think any degree and any career and the many people you're going to cross paths with throughout your life are going to create uncomfortable scenarios. So, and you're right, Hazel, like even things like that I notice is like how the city does a horrible job clearing sidewalks for people in wheelchairs. And to the point where when they try to go on the bus, the snow pile is piled up by a bus stop, and they're struggling to get on transit that is there for everybody to use. So even little things like that. So we have students that went into like some architectural city planning courses because to them, they want to actually help create buildings with that lens of making sure that everybody has access. And it's kind of a shame in 2022 that that's still a challenge. So we want you guys to kind of go out there and be like, let's change this up. Let's shake it up and do something new, because this isn't working for everybody. So
Yeah, for sure. This is a great segue to our next section.
wow, and you know what? No, this was not planned.
Yeah, and so yeah, we're going to talk about option courses. This is a great opportunity where you can intersect your own passions, whether it's beyond disability studies. For me, I really like anything that has to do crimes, most specifically like serial killers, but that's a little bit on the extreme side. But so Law and Society and SOCI, the first two bullets there, these are by far my two favorite like electives and open options that I have taken. So Law and Society 201 and 200, they dive into the Canadian legal system. So just the different types of laws, how to not get a criminal record, which by the way, we do criminal record checks for practicums. So this might be a pertinent course. But yeah, so for this course, you go through a lot of criminal documents, kind of get into like the nitty gritty things of crimes and how our system deals with them. What I liked about this course specifically, both 200 and 201, is that we had an assignment where we were all required to go to the Court of Queen's Bench in downtown, and we had to sit in a hearing, and we had to kind of write a paper on our observations and how that relates to course material. I was very lucky to have sat in a murder hearing. It was one that happened, I think, in 2016, 2017 or so. So it was the whole, like, they had the whole gang in there. They had witnesses, they had a jury, they had sheriffs, they had everybody. And it's crazy because, you know, for me, I've only ever seen that in movies and shows. But, you know, I sat there and I saw everything in front of my eyes, and I was able to, you know, kind of use what I've learned in class and say, okay, this is why they do this procedure, or this is why they're saying this and this. Yeah, so that one's a great course. These ones, I believe, also you can use for a requirement for the program for management courses, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, so there's that. And then there's also SOCI 325 and 327, which is kind of in the similar realm, but it focuses more on why people commit crimes, and the thought processes that kind of go into, you know, deviant behaviors. I really like this because it kind of shows you like why people participate in illegal practices and these social constructs that, you know, for instance, why are people committing crimes towards persons with disabilities? And oftentimes it's because of that underlying preconception that, you know, well, people with disabilities don't have the capacity to advocate for themselves and stand up for themselves, and therefore I'm going to take advantage of them because I can't. So I'm gonna, maybe if I'm taking care of an elderly person, I'm gonna go steal their things because I mean, I know that they're not going to be able to stand up for themselves, or they're not going to notice. So that's kind of an example of how, I know we've been giving a lot of examples of it, but it's an example of how, you know, these other courses and options can intersect with the disability field. I know Sarah had mentioned like an architectural or environmental design course. This is kind of in a similar lens where it takes part in the foundation that you need in order to advocate and help those marginalized groups. That makes sense.
So for I took Psych 203 and Education 309 and 311. So I took several option courses that I found interesting. The Psych 203 course was great in understanding how we can use psychology essentially for everyday life, as it says on the title. So from learning how someone's behavior can give glimpses into their personality style, to learning about how to become successful in academia and understanding what your learning needs are. It was also pretty cool to dive into various personalities and disorders, which furthered my previous knowledge for my diploma. For the education courses, they were also really great in enhancing my knowledge about child development and the best ways to engage learners in a classroom when you're teaching them literacy. My previous practicums were school-based, and so these courses taught me the best ways to support students. For the language and literacy course, the most fun experience was choosing a book that was diverse and presenting how we would share it with the students. I also really liked the discussions we did because we would be able to analyze the books read to children in the classroom, and how they would be able to answer the questions and how to encourage them to converse amongst their peers. So they were pretty cool options.
Yeah. And so lastly, we've got, what is life like at UOC in addition to the academics and the practicums? So clubs and other activities, as I mentioned earlier, so Nemo and I are actually part of the student association. I'm the president, I'm the current president, and Nemo is our junior exec for administrative roles. And yeah, so we've got our student association, which essentially is the middleman between students and faculty members. So a lot of the times if Sarah needs something, she needs something disseminated, she will come to me, I will give it to my team, and we will send the message out. But also we have worked really hard to make a safe and a welcoming environment for students. And so we've created the Discord, and this is all like purely students. So if you guys have yet to join, I highly recommend it. This is a platform for students to come together to talk about courses, ask each other questions on assignments. There's a lot of job opportunities posted on there as well, practicums. It's just one of those, like, if you need a friend, if you need help on an assignment, this is the place for it. There are other clubs at the university as well. So there's sororities, there's different clubs where they celebrate, you know, different passions. So I'm part of the ASL club, so American Sign Language club. This is where, you know, you learn, not only do you learn about ASL, but you also get to participate in different events like dinners. We've had like wine nights on Zoom. And so those are really fun. I'm typically, when everything was on or in person, there was like an entire week. It was like club week, I think it was called. And they fill like all of the food court with different like presentations, and all the clubs are there, and you can go around and kind of join which ones you want, and there's always free swag. That's nice. And yeah, there's that. And then events. What kind of events do we have on campus?
So there are like our exhibitions, bake sales for different clubs if you want to gorge on sweets. There are usually theater performances, and yeah, so lots of events.
And then facilities and best places to eat. So regardless of whether you guys live on campus, close to campus, or on the other side of the city, you guys can access, the gym, the library. We've got a flower shop like in the basement of Mac Hall. There's tons of health services, and all of these are part of your tuition. So they're already paid for. And since you guys will be spending a lot of time on campus, it's a great bonus because they're there, and after class you can just go to the gym. And then best places to eat, we've got an amazing food court, amazing. There's just a wide variety. We've got a convenience store and a pharmacy as well on campus. There's a place called Brews and Blends, which is my absolute favorite. They've got 2 locations, in the business building and in Knies beside the gym. And if you guys are into matcha like I am, they've got the best matcha lattes. It's so good. And yeah, there's so much good food. It's a little dangerous though. I'm gonna have to say it's a little bit dangerous because there have been times where I'm gonna be at the library all day, and then every 2 hours I'm going to the food court. So just be aware, make sure to bring your own snacks. And yeah.
So favorite places to go off campus, for me personally, downtown Calgary Public Library. It's pretty cool if you've been there. Fish Creek Provincial Park. The Escar Foundation has some really cool art galleries if you like to go.
And then lastly, best study place on campus. So you'll notice, and I don't know if you guys have already kind of walked around the hallways, but there's a lot of desks, a lot of cubicles in pretty much all the hallways. But I would say personally, my favorite spot is at TFDL, so that's the library. They've got 6 floors. The first 3 are ones where it's like, if you're the type of learner who needs a little bit of noise, and who really like to be around, your friends, or you just kind of want to hang out with your friends, the first 3 floors are definitely, the best spot for that. I personally really like my quiet. So the last 3 floors, they are quiet floors, and they have signs everywhere. And I will sit there for 8 hours and just do my work. And it's my favorite space. It's very peaceful, and you can get a lot of work done, and there's not a lot of distraction.
It is a very nice space. It's almost like when you're there, I don't go over a lot because we're at Foothills campus, but 1, the food court is dangerous. And I want to eat everything there. And 2, when you do go into the library, it's just calming, and it's a nice building. What floor is the Student Success Center on? I should know that. Is that the 3rd floor?
I believe so.
Yeah. It's a great area too, with lots of resources for everybody, or if you need that extra little help with academics and whatnot as well. So, but I definitely think that's a great study space. Students seem to really utilize the library.
And they've got rooms you can book as well. So if you're doing a group project or an assignment, you guys can book them, I think, in 1 hour intervals. It's just online and everything. But yeah, the 3rd floor is the most popular floor of the building for sure, because you do get some assistance if you need it. And it's just kind of where everybody hangs out. And then I think that kind of wraps up our presentation. We've just got a couple of tips on here. Yeah, and so we've got a Discord, as I've mentioned, again, just a platform for students to come together, ask for help. There's also, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it, but there's a way to like privately message people. So if you're not comfortable with kind of putting your message for everybody to see, there's that option. There's also UFC Confessions. Sarah, I don't know if you've heard of this one.
I
This
have.
is just, yeah. This one's more so like entertainment purposes, but
Yes.
it kind of, it's like an anonymous platform where people send in like things of, you know, how they feel about, you know, being as a student. Just there's some funny things on there and a lot of relatable stuff. So you might go on there and be like, oh, this student feels the way that I do about school and just being tired and stuff like that. And then we've also, again, with our association, we have an Instagram account. This is where we post, again, a lot of our events, any opportunities we have. We showcase students on there, any research, all that kind of fun stuff. And yeah, just kind of tips. I know we've kind of been saying how the program is so small and so close knit. And I know Sarah's talked about, you know, building relationship with your instructors and your peers. These are your people until you walk the stage. And it for many different reasons, it's pertinent that you maintain really good relationships, because it not only I know Sarah has mentioned, you know, for grad school, after grad, like references, they can help you with this, but also, you know, we never know what's happening in the world. I personally, you know, I've faced some challenges in the last couple of months, and because of the relationships I have built with my instructors, I have been, you know, I felt safe saying, hi, I'm having a horrible time. Is it okay if I get an extension on this? And I think that's really important, because at the end of the day, you matter, your mental health matters. And these are just assignments. They're just grades. No instructor, no faculty member wants you to prioritize anything else on top of yourself. And I think that's really important, because it's not something that is often said. And yeah, it's, as we've been saying, this is going to be a difficult journey. It's fun and it's rewarding, but it can be challenging, and there's going to be some tears, both good and, you know, stressful tears. I've had a lot of them. I mean, I just cry a lot in general. So yeah.
You're not alone, Hazel. You're not alone.
Yeah. And there'll be times where you're just like, for me, I'm like, oh, I cried for an entire week. I feel like I should be crying. And it's just the nature of being in university and it being a fast-paced environment. And, you know, we have practicums, and then you have exams, and then you have papers. And that's where, like, as we've got in capitals here, do not procrastinate. Make sure that you manage your time very well, because
Yes, please.
yeah, this is where the crying will, you know, start. And then, yeah, for grad school, I know we've talked about that. Brenna is actually, if you guys are interested, we have a workshop on Monday for grad school applications. Now, this is the first time we're having this event. And I think it will be something that will be continued on in the next following years. So if that's something that, again, you guys are kind of wanting to look at now and see just a glimpse of what it looks like, there is that event.
Yeah.
So,
And Brenda's been through it, so
yeah.
she's very aware. She's amazing. Like she's a really great go-to person to really help students as well. And Hazel, if you ever wanted me to like post it or share it, that event, let me know. Happy to do that. To put it out there. Just to add as well with the whole like never be afraid to ask for help. So from the program side, as a non-student,
Mhm.
it's it breaks my heart actually when students completely go silent and you don't hear from them all semester. And then you do find out that they were struggling and none of us knew, and you're trying your best to help them, but at the end of the day, there is deadlines to meet. Like you mentioned, Hazel, and you could fail a class. Is it the end of the world? No, it's, you can take it again, but there are rules and policies in place as well. So please, if you're struggling, please reach out to your instructors and let them know. And yes, you need to learn to manage and balance things, because in university, I'll be blunt, they don't care generally. By they, lots of faculty, they care in a sense that they, of course, your mental health is first, but when it comes to being like, well, I have 3 exams that day, or I have 5 papers due this week, that's life. You're going to have to manage your life. Like, this is just another way of teaching you how to multitask and how to prioritize, because when you start a career, your manager or your boss or your director is going to be like, yeah, we all have multiple deadlines this week. What's your point? So if you have to put like a big white bulletin board somewhere in your study space and write everything out, like I used to when I was in university, I had an agenda, the old school paper and pen, but that's what helped me prioritize. I use Post-its now to prioritize things. Like, I'm in my office at home right now, but it looks like I painted my window frame a hot pink and a bright orange because of all the Post-its around it. So that's how I've taught myself. So you can do it, and you will do it, and you'll succeed in it, but you need to communicate, and you also really need to take ownership and responsibility of what goes on in your schedule with your classes. And like Hazel mentioned too, like balancing your practicums and balancing your other classes is something that everybody has to learn to do. And when they don't, things crumble more, and we don't want to add to that stress that you're already experiencing personally. So when I have to sometimes chase students down because nobody's heard from them and they haven't participated in a class all semester, and we're worried, first and foremost. And secondly, we don't want you to fail a course. So what can I do as the advisor to help you get back on track? And that sometimes that's also just providing resources, because we have really good counseling resources and people that I know our students have taken on, and they said it's really helped. So when it does come to that, you're right, Hazel, you will cry, you will feel stressed, you will feel overwhelmed. But then when you actually just take it step by step and write things down and figure out what your deadlines are, and when you talk to other students and peers and faculty and myself, then you're going to be like, I got this. Like, it's going to be okay. So sometimes you just don't look at the whole picture. You just take it day by day. So that's just my little spiel, because that's been a very big challenge this semester, is like reaching out to students who completely went radio silent on us, and we're all worried. So always speak up. You're right. This is a very informative slide.
I wanted to preface too, like, coming from a student perspective, while it's important that, okay, there's Sarah exists, she has, she's there when we need her. We've got our professors, we've got, our classmates and our peers. I also wanted to highlight that, as Sarah said, this is your education. You have to take ownership of it. You have to take accountability of it. And so while these resources and, this support systems are available, I would highly, not even recommend, I would like you guys to just be like, okay, before I ask for help, I'm going to look online. I'm going to look at my course outlines. I'm going to maybe ask a friend. I'm going to ask somebody in my course. Because sometimes we just miss these things on these documents, or we miss an email, or, and instead of, because Sarah's a busy lady, she's a busy lady. She's getting emails left and right. And there's going to be times where she might not be able to respond to you as promptly or, as urgently as you need it. And this is when you've got to, be independent, because a lot of these courses are, they're asynchronous. You do it on, is that? Yes, asynchronous. You do it yourself. You're getting your material online, and you are expected to meet these deadlines. This is now your opportunity to foster independence, do your own work, reach out to friends, work together, because as Sarah has said, when you get into the real world and when you're working, your boss isn't going to be always there to support you, to carry you, and hold your hand. And so it's important that before you do ask for help and while it's there, you help yourself first. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I've been having some conversations with first year students, helping them kind of plan their next year courses. And I'm like, I'm very glad that you came to me first, because I have the experience. And while Sarah can help you, and not that she doesn't want to help you, it's just that she also has a lot on her plate. As she said, everybody has stuff going on. And, like, it's easy for me to say, but it's Sarah's job, but Sarah's also got other things to do. And so, yeah, I think that's just really important to, this is your life. This is your education. You have to take ownership of it. You have to take accountability. You have to manage everything that you're dealing with, and balance it. And now I know there's times where, it's difficult to do so. And this is when you're stuck and you no longer know what to do. You've tried your best. This is when you say, hi, Sarah, I'm struggling with this. Can you give me some more insight of like what classes I can take? Or like, I need this to graduate. I can't get in it anyway. I can I've had I think in 4 years, this is the first semester where I'm like emailing professors and I'm like, hi, I've tried my best. I'm really struggling. Is there any way I can just get a 1-day extension? And because, our program is so small, they're very understanding and they're very receptive of that. But as Sarah said, not a lot of other programs do. They don't care as much as to whether you have practicum or projects or papers to write. It's so it's kind of that concept battle of you're always going to have to advocate for yourself, but at the same time there's rules and policies that need to be followed.
Yeah, Hazel, that's a very good outlook to give the ownership and finding things out, because sometimes faculty joke that they want to wear a t-shirt that says it's on the syllabus, because a lot of times somebody I didn't know, and I didn't know this was going on or that. And it's but it's all right there in the outline. That's why outlines are created. So it's a very important document to look at and study and highlight and know what's going on. And yeah, you're right, Hazel. Life happens that you miss things. I do it all the time. I probably answer half an email to a student and I'm like, oh, sorry, I missed out a question. And also, yeah, I do try to, as Hazel said too, I really am there to help you out with anything. I have not had an information session yet with the first year students. So Hazel, you're probably getting a lot of that too, because they don't register until May. And so to me, it's true. I have to prioritize too. And right now it was the transfer students and our current students. So when I have about 400 students right now that need help, I don't want our new first year students thinking I'm ignoring you guys. I'm not. I send out some emails just so you guys can kind of go over things. And then I'll be hosting a Zoom session to kind of go over the logistics of getting into classes. But it is always nice, yes, to talk to somebody who's actually been through the classes too. And also first year students get mentors, which is such a great resource and connection and networking to have, because these are senior students that know I've been here, I can help you out with this. But yeah, I think it's really nice to have that team player component in our program, where if something does come up, I'll be like, look, I think you should talk to our association about this, because I can't tell you the experience or what goes on in a course. I can only show you what's in the calendar because I didn't take the class. And so I really love when a student steps up, or the association or the Discord, where they're like, this is actually my experiences in the program, and here's some tips and advice. So it's a really great little family, I like to call it sometimes, actually, to help everybody out. Nobody wants you to fail, and everybody wants you to be successful. So figure things out and then reach out for help if you need it. Just please don't go silent.
And then if you guys go on our Instagram page, you'll find our Discord on there, and you'll find all of our personal contacts on there as well. If you guys have any questions, Is there just are they, is everybody on here a transfer student, Sarah, or is
No,
it
I
just?
think there's a 4-year student too.
Okay, yeah, because I'm more than happy. I know Anne, you're a transfer student, so I'm more than happy to connect you with Brenna, as well if you have any questions. And then I also wanted to show, in terms of just kind of time management, this is what's worked for me. Oh wait, hold on. I don't know if you can, sorry, give me one sec. I'm gonna show you. I've created a memo on my computer, and this is essentially my to-do list. And it helps that I have it on my screen when I open it. Oh, I don't know if you can see it on the left, but this
Yeah.
is my entire, so every single time that I open my computer,
It's
I
right
see it.
there. Yeah.
So I don't do sticky notes anymore, because then like my mom gets mad at me that she's like, there's too many stuff on the wall. But yeah, it's nice because if you're on a computer, if you are on like an app or like on an iPad or something, this is, you know, what you can do. On the right side, granted, I have some random stuff on there, but I've got all of my classes in each different folders. I've got one for grad school. I've got one for work, both MRU and U of C. Like, this is just the way, and this took me 4 years to master this. Like,
Look at it now. Like, this is really a great tip. I like this.
and even like, I'm gonna just go into this. So like with school, I've got my entire life in all of these. So like all of my different classes, this is what I took in my first year. This is what I took in my second year. And so when a student comes to me and says, hi, I'm in my second year, I'm taking 487, what was it like? And I can go into this folder and be like, this is what I did. This is what I recommend you do for these projects or these assignments. And yeah, so that's kind of my life on my computer.
I love that. Nemo, what do you use to figure out life at U of C with your courses?
So like you said, I have a planner, a physical planner, and then I just fill like all the due dates in there, and then I have a checklist with that and make sure to follow it.
Yeah, it's a good visual tool.
The planners are a commitment. I buy them every year and I just never fill them out. And I think they're pretty, and I'll buy it when they go on sale at Chapters, and I just never fill it out.
Do you know why too, Hazel? I think it's because like the computer's right there. So when you're going in every day and you're logging in, having that virtual planner, like it's the same. I get that, but they are pretty. They're very pretty, the physical ones.
And this is my life as well. This is like, yeah, this is my calendar. So this is the beginning of the semester. I have all of my stuff on here. I look at this every single day. So I know what I'm doing in the week. I know which assignments are due. I know like where I have meetings. And so again, 4 years to master. So it doesn't just click in. It's like you got to find out what works for you and what doesn't, because I've tried the paper route and it doesn't work.
And you're saving a tree, which is nice too.
Yeah.
I just want to add one more thing. So thank you guys for letting me always do my little inputs here, but going back to how school prepares you for real life. So, and the career I have at the U of C, it's interesting because it ties into I use the calendar. Everybody uses their calendar through their Outlook, and they due dates and the meetings and deadlines that we have, everything's in there. And I look at mine every day as well. And I have the Post-it little app on my computer too, that I throw things in there if I'm trying to figure out who needs what or whatever. So you're right. Like it ties into really helping you practice real life management that you're going to need. So I actually I get a little hyperventilate when I hear of somebody who doesn't have something, whether it is a piece of paper or whatever. I'm like, well, how are you doing this? Like I have to do a grocery list. I have to write things down or use it on my phone and things like that. So yeah, like there's a really good glimpse of the day in the life of a fourth year student. And it just gives me, and I'm like, wow, my calendar is really full too. Like as somebody in their career and then somebody as a student, like we're both doing the same thing. Right. So, and you guys, it took you 4 years, Hazel, but I mean, that is beautiful.
Thank you. And now, again, like as you're saying, now I'm prepared because I used to be a manager at Dynamite at South Center, and my calendar looked very similar. I
Yeah.
had meetings and I had deadlines to meet, and you know, my calendar that was schools, the association meetings for first year students that I'm taking, both my jobs because they're both online, and it's, you know, that's like, yeah, what life is eventually, right? And so I'm very grateful that I'm like, okay, well, now I'm a little bit more prepared. And when I go out in the real world, it's not going to hit me in the face and I'm not going to be lost. Now I know how to put things in my calendar
and prioritize.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, so it's been an absolute pleasure sharing our stories and our experiences. And yeah, honestly, I think you guys are going to do great. You guys are, I always say you guys are going to move mountains.
Yes.
This program always pushes you to do so. And you are just going to find so much things about yourself that you've never even seen before. There might be some really strong advocates in here. Let me tell you that it's gonna come out. It's gonna come out. And there's gonna be tears, but tears, I have to say, and I have to highlight, tears are not a sign of weakness. You are not growing if you are not uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important because, you know, when things get hard, a lot of the times people will want to give up. People will want to just sit and not do it anymore. And you are not growing. You are not moving forward if you don't have any challenges or barriers to overcome.
That is very good advice. That's a really great takeaway. Exactly. How else can you grow without being uncomfortable? You're right. So it's great. And I really do want to thank you both for putting on this amazing presentation. And I'm going to be very excited to share it with our students and future students. And I'm just great advice that I think is very imperative to our new group that's coming in. And just for meeting with the new transfer students through the info session I hosted, they are a great group already, like, and we're already cracking jokes and things online. And it's such a positive vibe that I got from them. So it's going to be great. So thank you both for taking an hour and a half of your Saturday morning, and I hope you can go outside and enjoy the rest of the day. And to those who attended, thank you. And I hope that you guys did take some things away from this, and you can utilize it when you start the program in the fall. Does anybody have any questions, I guess, quickly before we? Okay, just, yeah, I know, right? They did such an amazing job sharing everything. All right, guys. Oh, sorry, Hazel.
I was just gonna say I'm gonna self-invite myself to the orientation in the fall.
Oh yeah, I already have like mentally penciled in. It will be on my memo on my computer to ask you. Yeah, I'm always like pulling people. I'm like, can you do this? Can you do that? Yeah. So no, don't you worry, Hazel. After you graduate, you'll still hear from me.
Perfect.
All right, guys, have a great Saturday. And I'll probably be talking to some of you guys sooner than later. And thank you for coming and sharing your experiences. And thank you guys for coming to listening to their experiences as well. So, all right. Take care, everybody.
Bye.